So it's Monday morning. Hi everyone. There's a lot going on in my head at the moment. I've had a really good week. It's been like really good with the markets. Had three days of it this week, doing the nights on the Thursday and then the Saturday and the Sunday. Did really well, and I met some amazing people that I hope to continue a relationship with and help with, you know, Sacred Kingfisher Creations. Yes, sorry, there's just so much in my head, and I'm trying to remind myself to just relax and get it out. I think I'm a little nervous because I had a question this week, which is sort of what's inspired me to do this. It was a good question, but how I responded to the question, I think, was a bit too much. As usual, I'd get to a point where I feel I need to explain absolutely everything to why I'm here. So, and that was the question. The question was like, how did you get here, and how did you get to become the facilitator to mental health and to this group in recovery and things? And it's a bizarre, fate-filled journey that got me here. It's very strange, and there's no real explanation to it. And I think that's why I rant a little bit about how I got here, because it's all entwined. Everything from my experiences, my lived experiences from the past, to how I ended up in Broome, how I ended up working there at the recovery centre that's facilitated by KMHDS, working for Milia Romara, the drug and alcohol rehabilitation up here. Things that I never thought that I would do, but I was looking for that kind of thing when I did arrive up in Broome. So I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to explain it without going into my past and explaining why I'm so confident with the knowledge that I've got and through what I've seen. It's so hard to, like I said, I don't want to confront everyone too much with my past, because it will. It will, and but I can't really see any other way. When I did a recovery college course, and it was part of the prerequisite to becoming a peer educator, sort of to do some of the courses, because my role as a peer educator in the recovery college was to be able to make sure I could facilitate all the courses. So I would learn, how they were and that. And a certain course was about sharing stories, and I had to say who I was, like, who am I? And in that course, there were some of my participants back then, so now members, equal members of SKC. So I tried to make sure that I delivered things suggestively, I suppose. I delivered, instead of actually explaining my traumas and my experiences, I just called them traumas and experiences, for that sort of safety reason, to protect myself and to protect my back then participants. So just have a break from that. I just want to say that I'm really excited about what I was discussing in my last post, talking about the Constitution and how I'm trying to build that at the moment. the great news is that Clinton, my husband, he really wants to get involved in this, project that we have. I don't know if you call it that, but he has got organised a meeting with one of the corporations to help us, guide us to the right path that we need to build our constitution and apply for being a corporation ourselves or an organisation, and which will then help us proceed with funding and the big picture, the mid picture and small pictures. So I'm really excited because on Friday we've got that meeting, and I'm going to introduce you to Clinton, and we're going to sit here in the morning before we go and have a quick talk and let you meet him. And because he is very important to this, he's out there working his 13 hours so I can do this, basically. Because like I said, I get no funding at the moment. I can't go on any kind of pension or anything because of the house that his mum left him, and also his work. So because we're married, I'm not allowed any kind of support. So which is bizarre. So I basically am doing this volunteer until we can work out a way where, like I said, that I can get some support myself. We need the support. We're living quite not tightly, but now and then we hit these points where we stress, and he doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve to be out there working 11 days straight just to see the money disappear and go to places that are out of our control. So him getting more involved in this is a power for me and for him and for the group, because he has a lot up there that helps me stay down here, sort of thing, rather than going too crazy and burning myself out and all that. He keeps me stable. So I can't wait for you to meet him. Going back to how did I get here? So, this is nice early morning. I don't even think it's 6 o'clock yet, and I should just get it out, I suppose. So, I've told you already that I'm in my 12th year and feeling recovered from my recovery of 11 years and of my experiences, lived experiences and trauma and addictions from the past of mine. Now, the reason I started my recovery is quite bizarre as well. I got to a point where addiction was taking over me, and it was getting to a point where I was physically starting to get ill. So using ice and injecting ice, like a couple of half weights a day, it was starting to really stuff my blood up, and I would get infections pretty much straight away after I had an injection, that I would start getting really bad. And you might have seen, I have a couple of scars on my face, and I've got on my chest and things, where I would get these terrible large boil type things that would be really painful, and I'd have to go in a hospital and get antibiotics for a couple of weeks. I was also on methadone, which was really, again, another story, given to me in jail for being an ice addict, which I found quite bizarre. Like, usually you'll get methadone for heroin addiction, and but they'd give you it if you're an ice addict too, which was a completely different spectrum. And being in jail, if you're offered something like that, you're going to take it. So I did, which was very, very stupid, because methadone is just it's more evil than heroin. I had to, when I was released from my third time in jail, I was then a methadone addict. I was, reliant on this drug. And so getting physically ill from the ice, this addiction that basically I needed to go to a clinic. I was stuck. I couldn't do anything. If I couldn't go out of vicinity of that clinic, because you were dependent to have it every day. Have this little drink of methadone, which goes through your whole body system rather than just heroin going through your veins and coming out the other end, sort of thing. So I had to, bizarrely, I took heroin to come off the methadone, and then use the heroin to withdraw. And the crazy thing about that experience was that, oh my God, I was withdrawing, the pain from the withdrawal off the methadone that lasted nearly 12 days. 12 days was incredible. I could have $100 worth of heroin and still feel the pain of the methadone. It was awful. It was one of the worst withdrawals I think I've ever had. But yeah, the reason I did that was I was at a point where I was dependent on both drugs, and also my actions through my terrible time in Sydney and things. I had some criminals that were also dependent on my actions to help their habits. So I was in quite a scary situation, and it was time I'd been close to death, and I'd overdosed a few times then. My younger years, I have different encounters of death, but this time physically going to the hospital all the time, like having to be on antibiotics, I just knew this all has to stop. I don't want to die. I want to live. I am very fully aware and proud of the person that I knew I could be today. I was aware of him in there, and I thought enough's enough. So I did that 12 days with the intention of then coming off the heroin. So we have in Sydney, if you catch a bus up to Cairns, it takes about 4 days. And I knew that, so I had got off that heroin, and I basically ran from the place. I was not captive. It was still my choice, but it felt like that. And then I withdrew off the heroin on the bus, and I caught that bus up to Cairns, and by the time I got off that bus, I was on my 4th day, so I virtually was clean, and my body functions could work again. The withdrawals are like a high fever, a very bad flu, basically, when it comes to just heroin. Ice was easy, you just go to sleep, really. You're going to have, it's more a mental health thing with ice. Your brain has got strange things happening to its nodes, so they've been cloned, so it's more physically though, you just need to sleep from ice, and that's really about all. So I went up to Cairns, and that was the start of my recovery, my step of recovery. And through that 11 years, I'd moved to Adelaide, and started working really hard on a vineyard, living with a family that were like 3 generations, and learning that no matter what happens in life, you just work hard and just keep working hard. Your body can heal things that your brain can't articulate, and not have to explain to yourself. It was quite a crazy enlightenment, really. I suppose it was quite a great lesson for me to learn, and slowly through that, it was when I chose to, go to counselling and start working out my issues and breaking down my trauma and things like that. So anyway, I went home eventually, which is Western Australia, and most of my family are down south from Perth in a town called Bunbury. And I'd been away for over 7 years, probably even getting to 10. And I'd completely shut them all down when I went over to Sydney, because I was reflecting circumstances that had happened to me in Western Australia. So in my childhood, my class, I suppose, was that I was a victim. I was a victim of circumstance. I was a victim of other people's influences, and that was something I wanted to rebel at. I didn't like being classed as a victim, so I chose victim of choice. I became then no victim really. I chose to reflect in Sydney the same stuff that happened to me in Western Australia, but making them all my choices that I chose to do. It was a very strange, rebellious thing, but it did help me grow up and not be a child in circumstance and a victim in circumstance, which is where I was categorized as, which was, really frustrating. So that risk I took going to Sydney, nearly killed me. So I came back to Perth looking for forgiveness and giving forgiveness, and trying to, what's the word? Got rectify in my head, but not that. Just finish what I hadn't resolved, sort of thing. And I knew when I was coming back home, after being in recovery now for about 6 or 7 years, I knew what I wanted. And the quotes in my head around then was, it's what I deserve. What I deserve as a human being, as a man, as a gay man, and to receive what I believe I deserve in my life, and what I can, like I said, what I can give the world and what the world can give me. I needed security, a good job, and someone to love. So they were the things that when I came back to Bunbury, and that was after rectifying things with my family, fixing things, and trying to regain their trusts back, and all that was receiving the things that I needed. So I did. I received these things, and I found myself with a wonderful man called Clinton. We met. He was going through his own trauma, stuff that that I knew and saw from my past, and we both met each other with no intention of being in a relationship. I'd just gone through 2 before that, and I'd striked out on both. I gave them about 3 months of myself and my heart, and they were not worthy of me. They didn't deserve me, and I didn't deserve their lessons in life. So I see this sort of thing. So when it was Clinton, I'd had enough. I was like, I'm sick of this already. So I'm going to just find someone that I can be friends with. And love just sort of snuck up on both of us, and it was great because we'd met each other and put everything out on the table, because we weren't worried about the impression or judgment. It was like, this is who I am, deal with it, sort of thing, which was great. I just discovered he had 3 kids, that he hadn't been out for long. He was loyal and in love with his wife, not wife, she wasn't, they weren't married, but I'll just call her the ex, the mother of his children. And yeah, we eventually met each other and had to go through up and downs of the issue of him being gay and being in love with me, another man. And it wasn't that difficult. The kids are wonderful, and kids today are so much more open-minded than kids when I was a kid. And so we, they were born in, well, the twins were born down in Perth, but they've lived all their life. The younger one, he was born in Broome. So they were, and Clint's old school Broome. So after getting really healthy and we had our own place and we were happy, my work life was good, his work life was building and getting good. Through some circumstance, I felt that we should go to Broome and come here and be near the kids while they're growing up at a vital age of turning into teenagers and things. So when I got up here, I wanted to start doing my art again and reflecting my past a little bit in helping kids and sharing my creativity. And at first I found it really hard. I went to the Shire, I went to other places. I never thought to go into the health system. I wanted just to go into the art scene up here, and soon discovered that it had crumbled. I'd been up in Broome many times through my life, like through my travelling, and lived here a few times. And when I lived here in the past, there was quite a strong art scene. When that's all just gone now, it's not that strong anymore. So I sort of was trying, and it was getting to a point where I thought I might need to just do a normal job like hospitality or tourism again and things like that. And it was a strange circumstance that happened. Me, Clinton, and the two boys were flying down for Christmas to see my grandmother and my dad, and we were on the plane, and I'm sitting next to this lady, and somehow we started getting talking, and Jane Lawton was her name, and she was running a men's art reach and a women's art reach at the Recovery Centre, and she was also working pretty full on at Emilia Romara, the drug and alcohol place, and started talking to me about needing someone just like me to take over the men's art reach. So that sort of was crazy. It was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I want to do. She goes, yeah, I'll train you up. You just sit with me and sit with the men and learn how to do what I do, reflect what my course and my program. And in the beginning of the financial year, you'll officially take it over. So we said our goodbyes on the plane. I said, definitely, I'll give you a call. And we drove back up. That was our sort of Christmas trip for the boys. We drove back up, back to Broome from Perth, which is, by the way, about 2,500 kilometres. So it took us over a week because we stopped at a few places. I think it took 2 weeks. And then after we settled back home, New Year's had gone by and all that, and the kids were soon getting ready to go back to school. I gave her a call and she was come down. So I basically went down the next day and set up an easel, started a painting, and got to know the men. And the rest is history in a way. Basically, that's when this journey started. And I've never looked back. It's just crazy how it's all happened. And it's overwhelmed me now and then, but in a good way, like just, especially when I see what I do and what I share with people, that it works with them and that they are flourishing and thriving themselves and breaking their own boundaries and things. So, yeah. I hope that wasn't too much. I think I sort of still avoided a lot of my past, which is good, but Yeah, I gotta be careful of my own self-care in this. Sometimes I feel I can like delve into my little pasts and capture memories that I've like put away. I don't block them anymore because I like to have them handy if I see it in someone and know where their level or where their stages are at. When it's directly about me, you know, it can be a bit. Whew. And then, like I said, I'm concerned that the audience or the person that's asked me the question just goes, "Well, I wish I didn't ask that." So that was a refined answer to what I gave earlier this week, and yeah, it's bizarre. Like, I'll have to have a listen back to this and see if I even will post it. Okay, that will do. I think. It's strange. I haven't tried to do these twice or anything. I'll listen to this, and if I think it's let's do it, I'll do it. I think you're hearing me just be a bit nervous now. And so it's Monday, like I said. I've got workshops tomorrow. Things are going to change a little bit this week, and I'll probably post on Friday after me and Clinton go to these meetings that we have about the Constitution. So I can't wait for you to meet Clinton and the kids eventually, and I'll see if I can talk to someone else tomorrow at the workshop. If I do a post in between about the workshops, we'll see how we go. So nearly half an hour. Sorry about that. I hope you's all lasted this long. Anyway, have a good week, guys, and I'm sure I'll be knocking at your door through the week. All right. See yous.